In the past 8 years, an average statistics from World Bank says that $168 billion was invested by diasporans to Nigeria. 30% of that 168 invested in properties, and it's actually growing. So that kind of gives you an idea of the impact of the diasporans and what they're doing in terms of bringing back the money home, coming back to start property investments. All kinds of investments happens when you're in the diaspora, but 30% of diasporans, and it's growing actually, invest in lands and properties in Nigeria.
Okay, but I want to go grassroots, okay? And this leads me to the next thing I want us to talk about. We have people leave the country because they want to, go for greener pastures and they make a lot of money. And then you don't blame them because we know that Nigeria is not so stable now. To be honest, we're being truthful now. The fears of investing back home, we've heard the stories of the ones that the family will eat their money, but let's even put that aside. Yeah. But the fears of investing in a country that you are afraid that, is it stable? Is it going to crash? Is everything going to be okay? And I want us to be real about it because those are some of the thoughts that, these people have. So dealing with that, what would you want to say about that?
I actually have been a diasporan once because there was a time that I spent about 5 years living in England.
Okay.
And I can tell you for a fact that, one, the fears are valid and it has been happening and it will continue to happen till time immemorial. Once you are not careful and watch who helps you with the investment and where you are investing in and the what. For Nigerians, they will forever, for me, because I know that, want to have investments back home. And I categorize them actually into maybe, let's say, three categories.
Yeah. Okay.
So we have the Nigerians that have spent the average of 20, 30 years in Nigeria, in diaspora. The children are now old, so they've done everything. They are on their second, third mortgage houses in diaspora. And they're thinking, you know what? I want to have a root back home. I want my children to know my roots. And if I'm going to have a root, maybe they came from or your village. They don't want to come back to your village and because the children will not follow them. I want to have a nice place that my children and I can come back into and just enjoy. I want to have a retirement home. And then we have the diasporans that are recently jackpad. They know the
But let me just call you because you said retirement home. Do you know that a lot of Nigerians don't want to retire in Nigeria?
That's what you think.
Okay. Well, to a large extent, you're right. This is my opinion. They do not want to invest because of the political instability, the economic instability, corruption here and there. But like they say, there's no place like home.
Yes.
So everything still comes back home.
Yes.
So even when you look at it, I tell people that even with the uncertainty and all, if you study successful people, you realize that is in this uncertainty, they try to tap into the investment opportunity because they understand that their housing deficit, there are a lot of opportunities for them to tap into. So in understanding that, they know that this is the best time for them to invest, especially for people in diaspora, because they know that in as much as the Naira is devaluing, the dollar is still very strong. And this is the time for them to pump the money into the system, at least to boost the economy, and they would get great returns on their investment. But in doing that, they need to ensure, like you rightly said, family issues and all, they need to ensure they're doing proper research. Who are they dealing with? I mean, that's why you have us. We are professionals in the industry. We have a lot of clients that they don't even want to go through their family members. And then
because they've tried it before.
Exactly.
And
they got their fingers burned. So they just go, okay, I think I'd rather just go with a trusted hand or trusted someone I know I can trust with my funds. But trust me, much as the fears are there, they still know that there's no place like home.
Now, I'll give you a little example. I'm going to be political here. They can't send me back to Ghana. So when we just concluded elections in Nigeria and, we know who became our president, even though a lot of people wanted somebody else. But I can tell you that I know a couple of people that said, once this man is president, I'm packing all my things and I'm not coming back again.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm sharing real life stories with you.
Well, has he gone?
He has gone.
Okay.
I know a couple of people that have gone, and they're like, a lot of them, and like, this man is president, I'm not going to stay here, I don't want to raise my children here, I don't want to have anything to do with Nigeria. And I'm coming from an angle like, do we need to do better at home first? Because we're telling people, oh, remember home, remember home. What if home is bad?
True. True.
Well, the thing about that, I would say something. Everywhere is bad, depending on how you look at it.
Thank you.
We can say Nigeria is bad, but for a lot of us, why are you here? If Nigeria is bad, hold on.
Okay.
Hold it.
Because I'll defend myself.
Yes. A lot of us assume, because when you are in diaspora, people feed us fears. People feed us fears. And the longer you stay, the more the fears are validated. That, geez, armed robbers. Oh, Nigeria is not safe. Yeah. Oh, that man. Oh, that person. But you know the funny thing? On every flight back to Nigeria, there are foreigners loaded, coming in, securing themselves and securing the bag. And they navigate the system. Yeah. They navigate everything. If you look at the average city in Nigeria right now, foreigners are there. What are they seeing that we are thinking, oh, it's not safe? Everywhere in the world is bad. Yeah. If we're looking at it, if we're looking at it subjectively, everywhere in the world is bad. Yeah. I've traveled quite widely, and I know I've seen some places, and I'm like, please take me back to my darling.
Let me go back home.
Yes, I've seen some supposed best cities, and I'm like, take me back home.
They have the worst bad.
And I've had a lot of clients that come to Nigeria and they finally get to breathe.
Yes, I went to buy a property in Ekpe, and I found a foreigner in Nigeria building a two-bedroom apartment, two-bedroom duplex.
Home.
Yes.
In the
and
bush.
he built it, and then he's just having a farm just beside it. Yeah. And then he just goes, he told me that he will go to a supermarket and get load stuff for about 3 to 6 months, and it's good to go.
He's enjoying the nature,
yes, it's peaceful.
You know, we don't know the value of what we have in Nigeria, and I can tell you that. Last year she was in Germany, and I see what they do. And I sat in my sister's car last year, and we wanted to buy petrol, and the tank was going to £100. I said, wait, are you going to spend almost? We said, that is even half tank. Yeah. So I'm thinking, please take me back to Nigeria. I will still manage myself. Yeah. And that is the truth. When they get back here, they discover that it's not as bad as we think. Yeah. And that is one of the things that comes with information, getting it out there. Yes, there will be bad spots. There will be bad times. There will be bad seasons. There will be bad leaderships. Yeah. But then, hasn't all the other nations had bad leaderships? Do they not have bad sports? Yeah. Do they not have unsafe areas? Do they not have lives that go? You're from Ghana. I went to Ghana, and there is a time that you tell everybody there won't be lights.
No, I would defend my country. No. Well, guys, that was the doomsday time, and they told us, they said it.
Yes, but there was no lights.
It wasn't as bad as Nigeria, that they'll take the light and they don't care whether you have light or not.
Don't worry, we're getting there. We're going to get better.
We're getting there. Yes, but still, still talking about this, what advice would you like to give to, people in diaspora that want to get a property in Nigeria, but are a bit skeptical? Should I do it? Should I not do it? Or don't know the steps to go about it. But first of all, let me start with you. What are some of the steps first, as a diaspora that has made a lot of money? What are some of the steps in trying to invest back home, trying to get a property back home?
Okay, thank you very much. Like I said earlier, it's like we all know, there's no place like home, and then home is Nigeria. Home is the root. So for Nigerians in diaspora to make their investment back home, the first thing they need to do is to do proper research. Proper research is very, very important. Having done that, they need to also be informed, understand the Nigerian market trends, what's going on, what's obtainable, where do I put my funds? Is it in real estate? Is it in fintech? They need to understand that and be well informed, right? And then they also need to ask network of friends, where have you invested? Which one do you think is right? What do I do? Who is your consultants? Who are you speaking to? And, they also, which comes to research as well, they need to understand the track records of those that they are working with, to understand that, okay, this is what I'm going to do. And they should also start small. Check it out. Okay, maybe I want to start with like $10,000. or 10,000 pounds. You don't have to say, okay, you want to take that big step all at once, but start small. And in doing that, you realize that at the end of the day, you get great returns on your investment.
Yeah.
The last time, if you look at a lot of Nigerians, even abroad, aside from the things they have access to, mortgage and all of that, truth be told, they envy us most times. They really do, especially for those of them that are just working, and they do not have anything to show for it.
Yeah.
So you see some people that have gone over 30 years, they're saving all this money, doing all of that, but they are just looking for that trusted person.
Yeah.
And once they are able to get just that trusted person, then they let loose all their guts, and then they are able to pump something back into the country. But a lot of times, because I operate with 90% of my clients, they are in diaspora, and they just need to know, okay, I've paid family members to do this. At the end of the day, I paid $50,000. I didn't get anything. They are not even picking my calls again. I mean, something happened recently. A client of mine in Port Harcourt, he paid his younger brother to build a 4-bedroom duplex for him as well as furnish it. So we were helping out with the interior. He said the whole property, everything was completed. Okay, let's start the interior. The guy categorically told me that, Madam, do not call me again on this matter. Leave my brother alone with me.
Wow.
Yeah.
The guy came back home after almost 10 years. Do you know that this brother has not even done anything? So, things like that,
Hear
there
a
are
lot of
trust
good stories.
issues.
Yeah.
So once they know that, okay, this person is actually reliable, they will pump the money in because they know that there's a lot to gain in investing in Nigeria.
I know you have a lot because you've just been. So I know you have a lot to,
So
say
because
about it.
this is because I don't know why majority of my clients are diasporans.
Also, all of you deal with that.
Yeah, so I
Right?
deal with them a lot, and what I always ask, the first thing I tell diasporans, please don't go shopping for your land or building on the internet. That's number one, because most times it's misleading grossly. And then whenever a diasporan comes to me, mostly by referrals or maybe they've checked out my page and everything, I ask them the why. Why do you want something in Nigeria? So once I understand his why,
Reason.
I go to what do you want to buy? If he needs me for the advisory, yes, because I know his why, I can now talk about the what.
Yeah.
And then manage his expectations. So someone is telling them, because dollar is high now, you can now buy property in Ikoyi, or you can have 50 million and you can live in Lekki Phase 1. So they are asking you, I want a 2-bedroom in Lekki Phase 1. Go possible now.
Yeah.
But you have to kind of manage the expectations and guide them on where to go and what to do. And then once you have managed their expectations, kind of build a relationship with them. So it's never going to be the money first and the sale first. Building the trust is very important. And I always advise diasporans, try as much as possible. A lot of them say, I saw this person on YouTube. I liked what he was showing. And then this. If it's too good to be true, it's always too good to be true.
Yeah.
And then the due diligence factor is very important. I've got clients that have said, I bought somewhere there. Can you check it for me? They didn't necessarily have to buy from me. But because I'm a lawyer, I can help you to do the due diligence. And then by the time you get to the land or the property, you discover it's either sitting on Lagos acquisition, or in the next few weeks, they're going, or months or years, it's going to be probably demolished. So that person is putting it on the market. I've seen some homes that the diasporan said, we had someone recently and he said there was a price, there was a discount. I mean, somebody went online and said was 60 million, now 45 million. And my sister was like, "Ooh, this is a good day."
Jackpot.
At this point, when everybody is increasing, this one is decreasing. Why? What is going on? But you know what? Let's go there. And by the time we got there, the house couldn't even park a car.
Wow.
But you see, that person in America is thinking, oh my God, this is good. This is massive. Definitely, yes, it's a good time. I must say this.
Yeah.
It's a good time for diasporans to think of coming back home. And everything is in their favor. And east or west, home is best. And a lot of, when they come, we realtors literally become like a tour guide. So even if they can't come, we take them on a tour of the environment, because it's important that they know. You just don't go. You just don't rush and buy a house. What is the environment like? Is it safe to come home at night? Because a lot of them go around. Some want to go into Airbnbs. Is that place going to be a good place for Airbnb? The schools there, would you need schools, or would you need a shopping mart? Which one is important to you? So managing the expectations, and it's a good time. I always tell them it's a good time, but when it's a good time, there's always a right way to go about it.
Yeah. And, still talking about this, is there something like the government helping when it comes to diaspora investments? Is there anything the government can do, put works together and all of that?
Yes.
Okay, so for me, I think government needs to, there's need for transparency with people in diaspora, and then we should also try to reduce corruption, because sometimes you want something, you have to pay your way out of it, because based on man no man and all of that. And then that's why you see some companies that they don't have, maybe because of the connection they have with government, they get bigger projects. And when they get the bigger project, they outsource it because they don't have qualified staff for it. And, because there is no form of quality assurance to put in place, like, okay, this infrastructure is up to standard for government to have people, regulatory bodies to do their checks and balances. Like, okay, before you put this out there, we need to have our team to ensure that this is up to proper standard, and not just say, okay, because of the man no man, you just give them the building approval or anything for them to go and sell. And we have stories that
still on the man no man. Can that ever change in Nigeria?
So
Can it?
So it can be minimized, at least when you know that, okay, the people that are there, I have to do what is right. Even if I want to get the approval and all of that, I need to ensure that my books are checked, everything, my staff are well-qualified staff and all of that. So it might not really change, but we can minimize it, like, okay, based on man, no man, before I give you this thing, let me ensure, at least let me have regulatory bodies to say that these things, this company, they are checked in terms of giving them this approval or giving them this thing. Because, those are one of the challenges diasporans face, like, oh, there's corruption everywhere, even in Nigeria. Can they actually trust people back home to put their investment and all of that? So all that can be checked with checks and balances and regulatory bodies.
There's this funny thing I read on social media. You guys don't kill me, because but they said, tell them I sent you in Nigeria is far better than a first class degree. Is it true?
It's true.
Is it
Connection.
true?
Connection is good. And I was going to say something in terms of the government regulatory, because what has happened right now is that the built industry in Lagos, I will speak about Lagos because that is my primary location.
Okay.
The built industry in Lagos is right now being really highly regulated by the Lagos state government. So if you are building a house now, there are certain rules and regulations that and there are permits that you must obtain before you can start. We call it the Lasbaka, Lamata, Lasre, all the Lagos State real estate building, all of them, even the material testing lab. The material testing lab will actually conduct a cube test on the decking that you are going to use in your house. So when you get to some sites, you will see a board that names all the contractors, who the architect is, those are all the people that form the built industry, the quantity surveyor, everything is listed. And then your plan must go to Lagos State for approval. You can't even lay the first foundation in Lagos without getting building approval from Lasbaka. And they can actually come and demolish it. So Lagos State is doing their very best. One, in terms of the built industry, and then in terms of mediating. When people in diaspora say, I have this problem, you see that the Lagos State real estate division, they will kind of be a kind of mediation between that. And then we have the Real Estate Developers Association that is also coming in to set up a regulatory system about that. So sometimes when you are going into purchasing in diasporas, one of the key questions we always tell them to ask, do they have all the approvals? Exactly. So when you get to a site and you're seeing the big X's and the big L's and you see the big do not do, some dodgy developers will paint it up overnight and continue building. That's one of the reasons why some houses were, collapsed, because it wasn't that Lagos State hadn't seen it, hadn't regulated, hadn't told them to put a stop work. It was just that developer was dodgy. So when you're buying a house, research the developer. The back end of the story is very important. Very for anything. If you're going to buy your lovely outfit now, you would research of course. You're not just going to jump and buy now. So everything has to come with research.
So, and it's just beautiful that we get to have this conversation, because I know people back home, not just even diasporas as well, people back home are also looking at the conversation and like, okay, you actually need to do your due diligence before you can think about buying a property. And most importantly now, people outside, the country. But me, I'm still talking about this whole getting things done in Nigeria. Okay. So can you still have all these things done and still be duped? Because recently on social media, there was somebody that, paid money for a house here and he never saw the house. And apparently he had also gone through the due diligence and everything. So can you still go through all these things and still fall victim?
Yes. I mean, stuff happens.
You can just be unlucky.
No, anywhere in the world, it could happen. You could actually pay for a house in London and not get what you expected.
Yeah. Really?
Yes. It can happen. It's not, the thing about real estate is that in as much as it is regulated at the same time, we will always have the margin of ifs. Okay. I call it the ifs. If you are buying, for example, a dress now, you would have that margin of probability, that in the end, if it doesn't fit me, I will quickly do this.
Yes, yeah.
But then, at some point in time, there were houses, I'll call the seasons the before, the during, and the after. So before the regulatory systems and Lagos State brought in a bit of discipline, there was lack of discipline. So people could promise and fail. People could say, oh, well, I started the house, but COVID happened, so you have to wait. There were a lot of promises and failures. Then the regulatory system came in, and, trying to set it up, a lot of it won't still be settled. But we will now begin to have a saner environment. And then the after, which is where we are now, where you can't even start anything. You have to do this, you have to do that. And then the back end of researching is also important. That some developers, even if they overpromise, and I always say it, they might not deliver.
Yes.
So at the end of the day, when you are looking at the track record of the developer, what has he done? What has he successfully done? Those are the things in law we call it the evidences. This is what this man did last year. This is what he promised in 18 months, and this is what he delivered. Well, it hasn't finished yet because of COVID, but we are on it. We are going to deliver. Then this is what we are doing right now. This is where we have reached. So when you see the trajectory of growth, then you'll be able to feel confident that, well, hopefully this one will be one of the good ones.
You said something
and I wanted to add to that, that's where communication also comes into play. Sometimes based on economic factor, the dollar naira thing, it might make developers not deliver as promised. It might not really be their fault, but at least when they are able to communicate, which that would go a long way. And then, it puts investors' mind at rest as well, especially people in diaspora. Okay, based on what, we are unable to deliver under 12 months. But if you give us additional 3-4 months, we'll get this delivered in good time. And it's going to be a very good project. So that's also very important.
Yeah, this is very important. While you said something about different investment opportunities, it's not just about Nigerians in diaspora looking at how they want to come back home to live. What about assets? Because I understand that an asset that you're living in is not going to yield money. So what about assets they want to just invest in and they don't want to come home, right? Or not just even assets, other opportunities that they'll be looking into, keying into.
Yes, Sorry, when I was going to say something that is a very important question.
Very important.
That is why I said the first question is why.
Yeah.
So you see I was talking to somebody day before yesterday, and she said, I'm not coming back to Nigeria, but I want something in Nigeria.
Yeah.
That is her why. She just wants something in Nigeria. So I asked, do you want a commercial property? What do you want to do with the money? Because repatriation of the money is one of the challenges. They might say, oh, I bought it at 100 million. I can't get 100 million when I repatriate back to dollars.
Yeah.
So the most critical question important for me is why. So what if the why, we can now say, do you want a residential, or what is your long-term plan? Do you want it as a short-term investment, which is like buying off plan and flipping it, or do you want to turn it into an Airbnb, or what do you want? So it's very important to understand, and then opening them up that it's not only about residential properties.
Yes.
You can do hotels, you can do. Someone called me and said he wanted to have a sports center around.
Yeah.
I wanted to build a sports center, and that it wasn't even just. And he called from diaspora. He says he manages football and stuff. So he wasn't looking for residential. He just wanted somewhere where we can build a world-class sports center. Some just want to build a resort, So the why
It's very
is
important.
very important.
But can you name the opportunities? You mentioned resort, sports center, commercial, residential.
Yeah. So
What are other opportunities?
Okay, so we also, we have some Nigerians in diaspora that just have the free flow of cash, and we have various investment opportunity where they can invest and get great returns on their investments. Let their money work for them instead of just leaving the funds lying fallow. So we have some people, they might just want to have a food hub. That's commercial as well. They want to have event centers. We have clients that are looking into the Bejuleki environment from Songotedo, and they want to have event centers because they've spotted it that, okay, this is an opportunity here because of the metropolitan city and all of that. Let me just position myself here now to have that kind of investment. We also have people in the medical field as well that they can also tap into that and then make investment. They acquire properties or lands in acres to do something like that there because that place is still a developing environment. Yeah. So if they are able to position themselves quickly, they're at an advantage and they get the benefit. Nigeria is really blessed only if we can see the opportunities and tap into it.
I was going to add that there's a medical migration going on right now.
Yeah.
A lot of Nigerians in diaspora that are now becoming very good specialists and have the partnerships are coming home with their partners and setting up specialist centers in Nigeria, building it up and managing it. And then you now discover that a lot of diasporans, not even diasporans, foreigners, will come to Nigeria for treatment because they get the treatments done quickly and faster than when they were, maybe they're probably on wait lists. So they get to Nigeria, they get all their analysis done, the treatment, and then they go back. They got the operations done. So there's a lot of that going on.
And that's beautiful, actually.
Yes, we have the cancer center. Well, my friend of my friend set up the cancer center, and it's one of the best in the world. And
in Nigeria,
yes, in Victoria Island.
And so another thing they can also consider doing is education system. That's something that people need to also tap into. And when we say education, it might not really be school. Like you can come up with maybe the languages center. You can come up with different things that you maybe play area for kids to just learn as well as have fun. So the opportunities are there for them to tap into the commercial space and then to get the benefits.
The setting up of old people's homes. We have
do we have a proper? Do we have
people are beginning to tap into it? The Millennium Development Goals, the Millennium Development, one of those things are very critical. And I've seen some people that says the reason why I want a pay is to build an old people's village. And they already come with the idea and the concept, and they get the cheap land and they build a world-class system. And the funny thing is, a lot of Nigerians in diaspora are looking for where to put their parents.
Very true. Very true.
They're looking for where to put their parents. So when those kind of geriatric centers and old people's home, like private old people's homes. Believe me, we don't used to like to take our old people, our fathers and mothers to old people's homes. But the reality
that's the
is
reality.
Certain. This Gen Z, my children told me that if I try there,
I'm afraid of this Gen Z.
Mommy, we will put you in an old people's home. Luckily for me, there is none yet.
But
So
you
I'm
know that
saying-
it's just beautiful that we get to have these conversations, because some of the things we've even discussed here, I'm really excited. I'm excited to be in Nigeria, even though I'm not from here. I'm excited because it seems like it's going to be great in the years to come.
Oh,
Nigeria is going to be
definitely.
good.
And then I
Nigeria is
want to
good.
say
I like how
something.
positive she is. Yes.
So I also want to say something, right? For advice to diasporans, they should also look into collaborations and partnerships.
Yeah.
Like when you research about the company, you have the idea, you have the expertise, bring it back home, collaborate with someone on ground, and then you work together. Two good heads are better than one. And collaboration is the new currency. So there's need for them to adopt that. You have the expertise, you have the funds, pump it into your country, and then and the sky will be the limits. And
that's very important, getting the expertise. But then, because I've had experience with clients that would they would prefer having all their hard currencies, and then they want to keep it thinking that, dollar keeps rising. Meanwhile, dollar is not going to continue rising. It will keep falling, and then it keep rising.
Clients in Nigeria and diaspora, because
The
that is
clients-
two different types of clients.
The client is a Nigerian in diaspora.
So yes,
One of them.
He has a valid fare.
Yes. However, imagine if he invested in an asset after doing the due diligence, understanding, getting convinced that this is actually very okay. But then because of external voices, he chooses to just stay back and not invest it. But imagine if he does invest it, it's going to be, in the next 5 to 10 years, the same rate of dollar and the same rate at which he's going to get the return on investment is definitely going to be different.
No, what I always say is this. Look, in relation to that, if your client is living, for example, in America, and he wants to invest back home, wherever the person is, once he is a diasporan, managing of expectations is important. I always tell them, whatever you invest in Nigeria stays in Nigeria.
Yes.
When you start thinking, how much am I going to take back out of this to America? That's when the downside starts happening. But for example, if I go and invest in America now, my US dollars, I'm going to leave it there and use it to spread my risks among that place. Of course, it's nice to bring back home. But if I bring it back home, whatever I invest in here stays here. So I'm going to just begin to diversify. I'm going to look at other things. Okay, I got 10 million from this. I'm going to look at what I can pump that 10 million in. I'm not going to start thinking immediately of repatriating it. So when you are in that space, then you're not going to have BP.
And that's very smart, actually.
Yeah, so I'll say this as well. Speaking about diversification, Nigerians in diaspora need to understand that when you pump money into the country, it stays here, which is the same thing I have adopted. I make investments in USD. I know that when I'm going to the US, that's what I spend there. I make investments in Euro. When I go to Finland or Berlin or Spain, I know that that is what I spend there. I'm not thinking like, okay, I want to spend that money, that currency here in Nigeria. When I go to UK, I want to know that, okay, I have some form of investment in UK. And it makes it easy for me. Do you understand? I don't have to start thinking, okay, I have to change one currency to the other. And same thing even with African countries. So I was discussing with some clients and, they were talking about if I change my pounds. I said, no, you changing your pounds and putting it here. You just know that when you are coming here for holiday and all, you don't need to start thinking, I have to change pounds. I have to do this. You have the currency of that country you are in, which makes you better and easier for you. So I think that's something they should also
address.
I wish we could have you on and on and on the show, but our time will not permit us. But before I even let you go, I want each and every one of you to just quickly wrap up for me, just summarize everything we've spoken about, and let me start with you.
So why come back home? I always say home is the new home. And east or west, home is the best. So Nigeria is a great country. And I say so with my full chest. And this is the best time. Yes, with my full chest, this is actually the best time for diasporans, regardless of your age grade, to think about starting something or having something in Nigeria. And if you've had one before, please have another one. And if you've had one before, keep having it. And there are numerous opportunities that you can tap into.
All right, and you?
All right, thank you very much. So for me, I'll close with this. Nigeria is home and Nigeria is blessed with a lot of riches. And, in as much as we are talking about the uncertainty here and there, we have a lot of people investing and they're making a kill, like they're making a whole lot of returns on their investments. So to my Nigerian brothers and sisters, bring your funds back home and let it stay here. Pump it into the economy. Hang on. hang on, pump it into the economy, and let's grow this country together, so that we'll look up in the nearest future, and we'll be glad that, okay, we did all of this together. And like we rightly said, there are a lot of investments to explore. We have the real estate, which is the best form of investment after oneself. We have the agri-invest, we have the fintech. So all you need to do is just to do your proper check and bring that funds back home. Let's build the Nigeria we want together.
And you want to say something?
Sorry, I'm just going to let you into a little secret that happened. I had these foreigners, not even diasporans, that were my partners. And they kept on coming to Nigeria and going back. And I discovered that they were not telling their competitors that Nigeria was good. But they kept on coming. Every other month, they would come and take a stealing, go back. So I said, why aren't you like... He told me he was in a pub with one of the competitors, and he didn't even tell them that we were together. And I said, why didn't you tell him he came to Nigeria? He said, because they think Nigeria is unsafe and we don't want competition.
Oh, well.
Wow.
So he said, we don't want the competition, so let them continue to think that Nigeria
Okay,
is
so
not
now
safe.
you know it. Like, there's no...
Sometimes people just want
So
to
you
have
can
the whole
imagine,
benefits
these
to
are
themselves.
like pure foreigners. And like, no. Why would he tell them that Nigeria is safe? Then they're going to steal our company,
So
our
of course,
market.
now you have to be smart, you have to be wise, and of course, you know that home is always home. It's been such a beautiful conversation. I totally loved every bit of it. Thank you so much for sticking with us.
Thank you.
Thank you for dropping your